You are listening to Mining Stock Education.
This really is where we're seeing, I think, the most blue sky potential to grow the footprint of the resource, and all the ounces here that could potentially fall into a future resource directly correlate with Kenorland's valuation based on that royalty that we have.
Welcome back to Mining Stock Education. I'm your host, Bill Powers, speaking today with Zach Flood. He's the co-founder and CEO of Kenorland Minerals, one of our show sponsors. It's been many months since we featured Kenorland, but that doesn't mean they haven't been up to a lot. They've had 12 drills turning, $36 million of exploration happening across all of their projects this year. So we finally brought Zach back on for an update. Zach, thanks for coming on the show. You just put out some good expansion holes at the Frotet Project in Quebec. Could you walk us through this? What does this mean for the company?
Yeah, so we did put out we did report on 14,000 out of a 22,000 meter drill program on the Frotet Project in northern Quebec. That project is currently owned by Sumitomo Metal Mining. Kenorland owns a large 4% net smelter return royalty on the project. We had made this discovery with Sumitomo going all the way back to 2021. We ended up in a joint venture with them where we had minority interest, and it was early last year where we converted that interest to the large royalty. We're still technically the operator of the project, so we've got people on the ground managing these drill programs. That operatorship's going to transition to Sumitomo at some point this year. But I would say to the market, continue to expect drill results coming out. We have full data rights here, and we're going to continue reporting on all the exploration that happens on the project going forward. The results were extraordinary as usual. The Regnault gold system is an extremely high grade gold system. It's located, like I mentioned, in northern Quebec, right off of the Route du Nord, about an hour north of the town of Chibougamau. So it's got great infrastructure. It's in, mining country. There's a past producing Troilus mine in the same greenstone belt. We've got, great relationships with the First Nations up there as well. And Quebec is probably the best jurisdiction in Canada to develop, a mining project in. So, back to the deposit, though, it's a very high quality, high grade gold system, very large scale. This last drill program was focused mainly on infilling a lot of the system in the shallower levels, but there were a couple really deep holes that we had drilled into the lower parts of the system, over 1 kilometer vertical depth. And as for your readers who don't really understand orogenic gold, these are typically narrow vein systems, high grade gold hosted in shear veins, and they're very vertically continuous. They can sometimes go down for, up to over 3 kilometers depth. I know Agnico right now on the Cadillac Largo Lake is mining Macassa at over 3 kilometers depth. The hits here, the deepest that we've drilled is just over 1,000 meters vertical depth. But at those depths, even with limited drilling, we're seeing extraordinary intercepts. We released hole 252 that hits 6.7 meters at 30 grams per ton. So that's an ounce per ton gold. 6.7 meters is a really healthy width as well. That's pretty much all true width. Within that, there was 2.75 meters at 72 grams. And then there was another intercept higher up in that hole, 7.7 meters at 16 grams per ton. That was on a separate shear vein, including 0.7 at 121 grams per ton gold. And I think it's really important to note that prior to this drill program, mind you, we only put 2 drill holes down at that depth on this last drill program. But prior to that, there was about 5 drill holes in total at that depth. And the drill spacing was up to 400 meters, between some of these holes. So this really is where we're seeing, I think, the most blue sky potential to grow the footprint of the resource, and all the ounces here that could potentially fall into a future resource directly correlate with Kenorland's valuation based on that royalty that we have, right? So again, a net smelter return royalty. means that, if there was future production, we are getting a percent of the total, value of gold that comes out of the ground. So it's, again, just purely correlated on production and gold price. It doesn't take into account, profits or any of that a mining company would be more exposed to. So these royalties are extremely valuable. They're very liquid assets. It's a highly competitive market with large royalty companies out there hunting for assets exactly like this. And the valuation in Kenorland has seen an increase since we've converted the minority interest to a royalty, and then since gold price has increased, and also in parallel with that, as we continue to grow the discovery here on the Frotet project.
When you're trying to put a valuation on that, I think I asked you last time and you were very conservative or not wanting to give a full answer. But since we chatted, there has been an industry NSR that has been sold. Origin Royalties sold a 1% NSR to Triple Flag, and that was priced, I believe, over $400 million. I don't have the press release before me. But can you make a comment perhaps on what you have relative to what that NSR was priced at?
Yeah, so I think that the total transaction value there was around $421 million Canadian, which included the value of the SpinCo. And they did spin out, I think, a lot of their exploration assets, along with another producing royalty, a smaller royalty that they had down in Mexico there. But, to the main asset that they had, which was a 1% NSR on the Silicon deposit in Nevada, you could just do some really simple math, say 16 million ounces, take, 1% of that times, say, $2,500 gold, and that's about 400 million in total cash flows. And that's very simplistic, right? For comparison, say we had even 3 million ounces here, and a 4% NSR at 2,500 would be about 300 million in total cash flows. So we're getting up into that quantum, right? And it all depends on how much gold there is, how much gold can be produced over what time period and when that starts and everything. There's lots of other aspects to how you value that. But when you're just looking at, total potential future cash flows, based on the royalty percent and the price of gold, I would say we are definitely looking at a sizable number here in terms of the potential value of what we have.
At Frotet, would Sumitomo's next decision, or how soon would their decision to build the decline be? Because that's the next big decision, right? That could affect the value of the NSR.
Yeah, so the royalties, like any project, they have to overcome lots of project milestones, and we're still fairly early days here at the Frotet project. The upcoming milestones would be a maiden resource estimate at some point, maybe by the end of this year or early next year. Certainly that's just going to be a starting point. I mean, you can only include the number of ounces that you have, enough drill spacing on into any sort of resource. So there's going to be that. That's going to be the first time the market will have real numbers to look at in terms of how many ounces of gold we're starting with there. Beyond that, next year potentially there would be some sort of early economic study, although a lot of this is dependent on what Sumitomo decides to do. And then at some point, maybe between 2027 2028, from the information we have, there would be some decision that they would make in terms of constructing a decline. We, as operator, have been working with them towards permitting this decline. We've completed all the environmental and technical baseline studies. We're submitting for that permit shortly, and that would take about a year to turn around. And so, yeah, depending on, resource, economic study, and receiving permit for the decline, they could potentially make a decision to construct this, this underground infrastructure by the end of 2027, 2028. That decline, the purpose of the decline largely, I think, is for a bulk sample. So You've seen companies like a Cisco Mining do this at Windfall, right? You got to go underground, you got to take out a certain amount of material to really understand and have high confidence in terms of what the overall grade is, what the continuity is, what the mining conditions are and the geometry. These systems are usually structurally complex, and they require a tremendous amount of drilling to gain that level of confidence. And so the decline would be a huge step forward in terms of de-risking the project. And like you said, as you hit these milestones and de-risk the project, that should continue to unlock more value in terms of our royalty interests there as well.
And that's $100 million decision as well, that decline too. So that's no small decision, right?
It could be in that range. Again, we don't have a hard number on that, but it would be a significant capital expenditure that they would be making.
So you completed your drilling at South Uchi, and I know there was a lot of expectation, even like the traditional pure explorer expectation of what could these drill holes hold. And as some Kenorland shareholders I've talked to, they think that the next potential big value creator could be whatever's in that drill core. Can you give us an update on South Uchi? I know you haven't released the results yet, but they were at the assay labs, weren't they?
That's right. Yeah, we did announce the completion of the drill program a few weeks ago. And we did provide the market with some broad observations geologically. We certainly have hit and confirmed that there's a gold system there. We've seen structures with mineralization, and even noted trace visible gold in some of these structures. So we're waiting on complete assays from the lab, and then we'll report on that. And it takes a lot of obviously some work from the technical team to put it all together and have a solid understanding of this geologic interpretation and where to go next. But so far, I would say there's positive indications, and likely there'll be some follow-up exploration there in the fall as well. We'll just need to wait for what the final assay results tell you and go from there.
And you're keeping camp. I think the press release mentioned you guys are maintaining the camp at site right now.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, that's right. And like I said, I expect there to be some sort of follow-up exploration in the fall. Even based on what we've seen observationally, there's certainly fluids moving through the system, and it's that's extremely positive for a maiden drill program in an area that never previously had any mineral occurrences in the public domain. So, we had communicated to the market. We confirmed that there was a discovery of a new gold system even last year when we were doing the surface sampling. We were the first team out there to actually sample gold in the rocks over a wide area. So it was a big target area, lots of different lithologies hosting gold. And, so this first drill program allowed us to kind of get a better understanding for the subsurface and the structural geology and where things are heading there in terms of vectoring in on hopefully high grade mineralization.
So on the front end of the exploration process, you've been doing your own staking, and then you've been purchasing mineral claims even into New Brunswick. So you're moving a little farther east then with what you're doing?
Yeah, New Brunswick was a great opportunity. I mean, sometimes you look at these jurisdictions that don't have a lot of action in them. There's big open areas of prospective geology that haven't really been, explored systematically like we like to do at a large scale. So New Brunswick was a jurisdiction that we just recently entered into with a large acquisition through staking and consolidation of some claims there, and we plan to carry out large scale, geochemical survey over the big volcanic belt in that province this summer. There was also another large scale property that we acquired through staking in northern Ontario, north of the Beardmore Geraldton area, the Hard Rock, Equinox's Hard Rock project, or Greenstone, whatever it's called. But that area is more traditional Archean greenstone belt, so that's where a lot of our exploration occurs, looking for these Archean orogenic gold systems. That's going to see large-scale systematic geochemical sampling on it this summer as well. And then beyond that, we're doing a similar style of exploration up in James Bay, up in the it's called the Uchi Project, and that's northern James Bay region, even north of Frotet. This is up by like Eleanor and the Corvette Project that some of the people who follow lithium will know. So further north Quebec, large scale grassroots exploration, same style, big systematic geochemical surveys covering up there, I think around 300,000 hectares of ground. So these are huge properties, huge areas. And then there's other projects within the portfolio that we did this on last year, that we developed these regional gold targets that we'll likely see follow-up exploration on this year. And potentially that's being funded by, third parties. I mean, that is our business model, is to, at a certain stage, quite quickly actually bring in partners to fund the follow-up exploration and eventual drill testing of these targets. And, the reason for continuing down this path and scaling up is we have a high conviction that this is the best way to explore. I mean, it's not the silver bullet, this is really kind of, exploration by brute force, but it did work very well for us in the case of, finding Regnault on the Frotet project. It was the same setup all the way back in 2017 when we staked the property. It was a large amount of open belt, staked it, did a large first pass geochem survey, found an anomaly, followed up on it. And here we are now looking at, over 230 drill holes into this, multi-million ounce deposit, which again could turn into a mine one day. So, we are just trying to repeat that success elsewhere and scale up our efforts. And we're quite fortunate to have a healthy cash position where we can do this at scale, and I think provide a huge amount of upside and optionality for the shareholders, just even outside that royalty.
So the royalty conversations I had with some of your investors when I was in Quebec City was some wanted you to pursue new ideas, but also protect the value of that NSR. Others wanted you, that I talked to, wanted to go more aggressive on new ideas and just believes the NSR value will work out over time. Can you maybe share a little thoughts of your executive philosophy of how you run the company in that regard?
Yeah, I think it's both arguments can be made, and both are correct to a certain extent. I think it's just a balance. We certainly aren't trying to go out and raise a lot of capital at this level and dilute our shareholders' interest in that royalty, and that we do see that there's a lot of upside still in the royalty. At the same time, we have the potential to create even more value through additional discoveries. And, any success on the exploration front can be a total re-rate as well, in terms of valuation, and make the company that much better and provide even larger returns for shareholders. And I think when you have a team that's this capable and kind of a culture of real exploration, we should absolutely leverage that and try to find more discoveries. When you look in the history of exploration, all these companies, the ones that have made real grassroots discoveries typically are more likely to make another discovery as well. So it's, and that's not, I don't think that is, just like a random coincidence. It's because this team that we have created, this company, this culture, has the right ingredients, to go out and explore effectively and, think outside the box. And we have an exploration strategy that's quite unique. And, I have high confidence that we're going to find other big discoveries out there. We've already proven it with a few technical successes where these large-scale geochem surveys have honed in on new targets. And, we've drilled things that are certainly not just small gold occurrences, but real gold systems, but maybe they don't have quite yet the hallmarks of an economic discovery. But the exploration strategy really works. And I think if we continue to scale it, then we're going to see another event such as the discovery of Regnault.
When you were taking investor meetings 2 weeks ago in Quebec City, was there any astute questions that you were asked that would be pertinent for my listeners in this discussion that I haven't asked you yet today?
No, look, I think it's fairly simple at this stage. We have the royalty. There's direct comps out there you can look at in terms of value. There's certainly a path to a large liquidity event or exit in the sense of that royalty on its own. Elsewhere in the portfolio, we're keeping it very simple. We're sticking to that exploration strategy. It's large scale, systematic exploration focused on gold in Eastern Canada. The project generation model itself is quite efficient in terms of the use of capital and through operating a lot of this exploration, we were able to collect management fees and cash payments and monetize other positions as well that can keep money actually coming into the company to help sustain this as well. So I think really a lot of the questions are around, I think, like how big, Regnault could be. And that's a difficult question to answer early on in the discovery of an orogenic gold system. I mean, these things can continue to grow for 50 plus years. Like I said, Macassa is down to 3 kilometers deep now, and they're still putting out exploration results on that and adding reserves. I mean, it seems like it's just going forever. So that's a really hard question to answer. But certainly we're on a great path forward here, and we got a little bit of wind in our sails with the gold price, which is helping a lot too.
The company's website is KenorlandMinerals.com. They're a show sponsor. Ticker symbol in Toronto, KLD. And on the OTC in the States, you can find it under the ticker KLDCF. And it also trades in Frankfurt under 3WQO. Zach, really appreciate you coming on the show today. Thank you for providing this update.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bill. Appreciate it.